E fala amigos, como vocês estão? Sejam muito bem-vindos a mais um vídeo. Hoje estamos aqui para dar continuação à nossa saga aí de ver os conteúdos de Star Wars Outlaws. E hoje vamos ver aqui todas as facções do jogo em um vídeo que a IGN Fist está mostrando esse mês de julho para nós, para aguardarmos ansiosamente pela chegada desse jogo, dia 31 de agosto, que eu espero muito esse dia pra gente jogar esse jogo, se Deus quiser. Mas, pra quem me conhece, eu sou o Rogue, sejam muito bem-vindos a mais um vídeo. Aqui tem vídeos diários pra vocês todos os dias. E tá tendo série de Deus Ex como Revolution, não tá muito fera, tem série nova vindo aí. Então se inscrevam pra não perder nenhum vídeo novo, fechou? Então, simbora, sem enrolação. Bora ver esse vídeo mostrando as facções do jogo. Então, bora aqui. Estamos aqui no site da IGN oficial, no site do YouTube, no caso, né? Na conta deles. Bora colocar uma legenda em português BR. Bora colocar, traduzir automaticamente, né? Porque não tem oficialmente, mas a gente dá nossos pulos aí. Então, bora ver aqui. E beleza. Então, simbora, 4K e bora lá.
Scram, or I'll eat you for lunch.
Star Wars Outlaws takes scoundrel Kay Vess on a planet-hopping adventure as she goes in search of one big heist that will get her out of the trouble she finds herself in. Set between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, the Imperial forces are at the peak of their powers and will naturally serve as an enemy faction. But more integral to the Outlaws experience are the crime syndicates that Kay will encounter and the scum and villainy that comes with them. Dotted throughout the galaxy, each has its own story to tell and, more importantly, can be used to Kay's benefit when you see fit, thanks to Outlaw's reputation system.
Across all of them, there's fierce rivalries that Kay is going to have to navigate, and the player is going to have to engage with the reputation system in order to get what she wants.
You're not friends, you're not employed, you're not pledging allegiance. You're someone surviving and trying to grow a name, reputation in this world, and think of them as a little bit of means to an end. What do they have to offer and what do I need and want right now?
We've delved deeper into the gameplay impact of the reputation system and how you can manipulate the syndicates earlier in this month's Star Wars Outlaws IGN First. But who are these syndicates? We talked to members of the development team at Massive Entertainment to learn about the visual design of each and their place in the world of Star Wars Outlaws.
Let's jump.
Carta do HUD.
Perhaps the most well-known of the Star Wars criminal syndicates, the Hutts are led by everybody's favourite giant slugman, Jabba the Hutt. Flanked by Bib Fortuna, Salacious Crumb and other hilariously named cronies, they first appeared in 1983's Return of the Jedi as the crime lords of Tatooine. Straightforward and not afraid to dispatch with anyone who plays games with them, they love galactic credits and the power they bring.
The idea with the Hutts is really what you see is what you get, right? They aren't afraid to use force, they take what they want, and they are just incredibly powerful.
Jabba the Hutt, very famous character in the Star Wars galaxy. And so the Hutt Syndicate is definitely inspired by that. So you will see Forcers and you will see characters that you know from the movies as well, Gamorrean guards for example. But their look is definitely Tatooine inspired. I think it's interesting to say that the Hutts have probably the most dirt and wear and tear on their clothing of all the syndicates. You will find them on different locations as well. All the syndicates, you know, they have power that goes beyond the planet where they're from.
Pike Syndicate.
The Pike Syndicate will be a recognisable name to anyone who watched the Book of Boba Fett or Star Wars The Clone Wars TV series, but don't expect them to look exactly how you remember.
They have a very distinctive look. They are pikes, but they're different from the pikes you've seen in different shows, for example, because it's a different group. So in their design, we really went into a different direction with color palette, so they have a lot more dark blues, but also we went really into more of a graphic design for them. So you will see the helmets they wear and the clothing they wear, they have different patterns, which will show which rank they are, or like which group they belong to. So they will be very distinctive in that sense as well. They're not as organized, I would say, as a military group, but they do have different units that have different weapons, for example, different skills, and you will see a distinction in that.
Through spice production and trading, the Pikes amassed a fortune from their homeworld of Obadiah. But by the time of Outlaws, the syndicate finds itself spread out throughout the galaxy, including an operation on the freshly created moon of Tashara.
The Pike Syndicate is incredibly wealthy and powerful in this time period, and we sort of center around their underboss Gorak, who is very much in charge of Pike operations on the moon of Tashara. Tashara is under Imperial control, just like the rest of the galaxy. We get to see the corrupt side of that because the Pikes have worked out a deal with the Empire there where they get to do what they need to do and the Empire always gets its cut.
Fueled by an unrelenting desire to turn profits, no matter what moral lines may need to be crossed, the Pike's love of luxury and all things shiny is best demonstrated in the appearance of Gorak.
We really wanted him to look very much like the boss, so he's much bigger than the regular Pike characters that you will meet. He's definitely not the one who fights, he's the one who tells people what to do. He has also a lot of jewelry, he's very rich. We really wanted to tell a story. You definitely see Gorak is the leader.
Tell the governor the payments will not increase.
Pois só uma pausa, é bacana que cada facção é distinta da outra. Então, um vai para um lado, outra tem tecnologias diferentes da outra, uma é mais rica que a outra. Tipo, o ecossistema é diferente, então é bacana esse contraste da facção. Realmente você chega na outra facção e fala, uau, isso aqui é completamente diferente da outra. Então é bacana, cada uma tem o seu propósito diferente, então é muito bacana. Mas então, vamos lá. Crimson Dawn.
As more Star Wars stories are written, the more important Crimson Dawn's influence in the galaxy appears to grow. Led by Lady Qi'ra, Emilia Clarke's character from Solo: A Star Wars Story, Crimson Dawn is the syndicate responsible for auctioning off Han Solo's frozen carbonite wall decoration in the comic books, a prize won by Jabba and the Hutts, who outbid the Pike Syndicate. A mysterious organisation operating in the shadows of power, many of Crimson Dawn's intentions remain shrouded when it comes to Outlaw's story.
This is a restricted area. You need to back away right now.
Fine, I hear you.
Narrative director Naveed Kavari gives us some hints, however, noting that the Syndicate is really focused on intelligence spreading and aligning a bit of the wider network of organised criminals.
Crimson Dawn, especially if you look at some of the wider media, is up to something very, very interesting that I'll leave to others to explore and dive into, but this period is very, very important in terms of the character Qi'ra.
The shadowy nature of the group is reflected in their visual design, allowing them to blend into any location they might find themselves in, but also place their stamp when they want to make their presence known.
You will be able to meet them in certain places, and it's not always necessarily a place that's entirely theirs. Maybe they took over some place, so we try to really show that layer of, okay, Crimson Dawn took over this place, now you can see certain elements of them on top of something that used to be something else. They're more fashionable, I would say, compared to the other syndicates, and we try to translate that as well in their clothing, but they're also very undercover in the shadows. You would not see them if they would stand somewhere in a corner and just observing things. So their clothing is very practical, but very clean as well, cleaner than any of the other syndicates. Really to show that they have access to better materials, and it's maybe also part of their style.
Ativa Clan.
The Ashiga clan is a new syndicate created by Massive in collaboration with Lucasfilm, and can be found on the freezing planet of Kijimi, one of 5 playable planets and moons in Star Wars Outlaws and last seen in The Rise of Skywalker. Although brand new when it comes to Star Wars canon, those more knowledgeable about the galaxy far, far away might be familiar with the alien species they hail from.
They're completely new, but we did use an existing species called the Melito for the Ashiga clan, and there's many different aspects on them. First thing on the Melito is that they don't have vision, they don't have eyes, so they use different senses, and that was really interesting to design, like a whole syndicate that doesn't use eyesight. So all of their designs have a lot of tactile elements. They're based on Kijimi, in the areas they control.
Peraí. Isso é muito bacana, os detalhes aprimoram a coisa, olha só. Essa facção, eles são cegos, mas então todos os outros sentidos deles são completamente apurados. E para se locomover melhor, eles têm, tipo, que eles se comovem por elementos táteis, tipo essas linhas no chão que eles fizeram. Isso é muito bacana, porque, pra quem não sabe, pessoas cegas, tem países, eles colocam essas coisas no chão, tipo esses tatos, tipo umas linhas no chão pra guiar pessoas cegas. É legal que eles colocaram esse elemento no jogo, né? faz totalmente sentido, é muito bacana. Bem da hora.
See these lines on the floor, that's sort of their way of navigating, feeling around almost where to go. Their style really connected to Kajimi City. We wanted to show that they've been there for a long time, so the city itself influenced their look as well. And as Kajimi City is heavily inspired by samurai movies and it has a lot of these Japanese influences, we use these same sources of inspiration for the Shiga clan as well, and you will see that in their silhouettes that have a lot of references to samurai armor or kimono type of clothing.
The insect-like nature of the Melito race not only provided some interesting visual challenges for the team, but also influenced how the syndicate is structured and what its goals include. Whereas others such as the Pikes, Hutts and Crimson Dawn value money, power and information as ways to grow their influence, the Ishiga clan is much more focused on itself and its small pocket of the galaxy.
Our expansion has made us vulnerable, Mother.
It will make the hive stronger.
Ishiga clan are really interesting because they follow this very strict hierarchical structure. They are made up of a insect-like species that every single member of the Ishiga clan is serving the wider group under the control of Queen Ishiga, more than any other syndicate, where you might have some characters, some subordinates, you know, off to their own devices. In the Ishiga, they are serving the queen and that's it. And that gave a really fascinating dynamic.
They have a strict code of honor, they're very like a hive mind, and they have one very powerful queen who is in charge, so there's definitely references to that as well in the way they organize their locations, for example, which will remind a little bit more of an anthill. The Shiga clan is really trying to keep the control over Kajimi, which is a very important city, and trying to really get their revenue through that. They're also a syndicate that you will maybe encounter less on different locations because they are so connected to the city. So it's really their power over the city is what gives them their meaning.
We have decided.
Zerek, Brecht.
Sitting outside of the reputation system is the Zerek Besh, a mysterious syndicate that serves as Outlaw's primary antagonist, where you'll be able to interact with the other 4 crime gangs and forge and break bonds of your choosing as the story progresses. The Zerek Besh serves more as a distant looming threat.
Isso aqui é bacana. As outras facções, as outras 4 facções que falou, você pode interagir normalmente. Essa do Zerek Besh é o, digamos assim, o vilão, né, da trama, a facção vilã, assim, digamos assim, principal, que é um perigo eminente, mas que ainda vai estar longe, ainda vai ter um deslumbre, assim, você vai saber que existe, mas vai estar um vislumbre, assim, um pouco longe, vai ser uma coisa imponente, assim, meio de alto escalão, uma coisa realmente grande, assim, uma facção realmente muito imponente, muito poderosa. A gente, tipo assim, vai ficar meio, né, assim, um pouco mais acuado, digamos assim.
Story progresses, the Zerek Besh serves more as a distant
Uma ameaça distante e
They are run
iminente.
by Slero, a man who has placed a death mark on Kay at the beginning of her story, forcing her to go on the run.
It's an incredibly wealthy organization. They have their own plans and are more of a new player to the galaxy and to the syndicates. We very much wanted to treat them like they're the new player on the block. So for Kay, she's really on the run from them and from Slero. So they are actively hunting her down. She's using the other syndicates to kind of get what she needs to pull off a heist that's going to secure her freedom from them.
A deadly group not to be messed with, the Zerek Besh needed an ominous appearance to match, something that Yonkers and the team have worked hard on.
I mean, they look very threatening. That's definitely one of the starting points for their design. So we really wanted an imposing silhouette. For them, we really looked at the silhouette as well. So they have very heavy silhouettes. You can see they're very heavy helmets. If you encounter them, you will be intimidated. You know, we wanted them to look intimidating. And they have big helmets not to get a bigger silhouette, but also it creates a bit of a distance between you and them. You don't know who's inside, you know. So that was really for us important thing, that they would feel like, yeah, you need to get out of their way if you ever encounter them.
Much about Slero and his gang remains a mystery for now, with Massive reluctant to give away many more details about your encounters with them. We'll learn much more about them though, and why they're at the core of Kay's story when Star Wars Outlaws releases on August 30th. We'll have more exclusive looks at Star Wars Outlaws for you throughout July, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
Galera, muito bacana, velho. Musiquinha de fundo. Mano, muito bacana. Igual falou, bem bacana. Cada facção se diferencia uma da outra. Cada um tem um objetivo, cada um tem um propósito. Cada um tem suas tecnologias, suas vantagens, desvantagens. Cada um tem a sua, digamos assim, o seu propósito naquilo que eles querem fazer. E cabe você escolher isso ou brincar com isso. Aí cabe você escolher. Mas vamos supor, você é aliado de duas facções que são inimigas entre si. Só que elas não sabem. E uma te dá informação que vai para pegar alguma coisa da outra facção, mas você trai essa facção e ajuda a outra, entregando informações. E assim você brinca entre as facções e faz a festa entre elas, digamos assim. Mas, muito bacana mesmo. Igual, essa última é uma facção que não dá pra gente aliar, porque é tipo a antagonista do jogo, né? É uma ameaça iminente, mas por enquanto tá um pouco distante. E fala, se você encontrar soldados dessa facção ou alguma coisa do tipo, corra, porque eles são muito poderosos. Com certeza vai dar pra você enfrentar se você quiser, né? Mas se você vai conseguir, é outros 500, né? Que são uma facção muito poderosa. E muito rica, a mais rica de todas. Mas, rapaziada, foi isso então. Espero ter gostado. Foi mais pra gente ver aí todas as facções, todas as coisas. Muito bacana mesmo. Mas foi isso o vídeo. Vamos continuar trazendo conteúdo de Star Wars Outlaws. Continue aí que no próximo vídeo vamos trazer mais sobre o Open World de Star Wars Outlaws. Vai ser um vídeo um pouco maior, mas vai explicar muita coisa. Mas vejo vocês no próximo vídeo. Fiquem todos com Deus. Que Deus abençoe cada um de vocês. Um abraço, falou e fui. Rapaziada, tchau.